Welcome back to Smoke Barbecue Source. I'm Racer, and today we're talking about the Traeger Flatrock versus the Weber Slate. Both of these are their higher end griddles. This is Weber's largest model at the moment, but they do have a couple smaller griddles available. The 3-zone on the Traeger is its largest model too, but just lately they did come out with a 2-zone flat top. So today's video is more about how it is to cook and what's the plus and minuses about the Traeger versus the good and the bad versus the Slate. When it comes to the actual size of the Traeger Flatrock, we are 74 inches long. With the lid open, we are 58 inches tall and 35 inches deep. And the Flatrock weighs 189 pounds. One cool thing is that the shelves are 36 inches off the ground. And that comes in handy if you're a taller guy in statue. I don't really know where I came up with a statue. Statues don't cook, they just get pooped on. When we come to the Slate, we are 77 inches long, 39.5 inches tall with the lid open, 36 inches deep. In the Slate, it weighs 198 pounds. The Flatrock's griddle is 33 by 18 inches, giving us 594 square inches of cooking space. The Slate's griddle is 36 inches wide and 21 inches deep, giving us 756 square inches of cooking space. So you do have a tad more surface on the Slate. With all three burners lit and set at high on the Flatrock, we have 47,000 BTUs. On the Slate, we have 48,000 BTUs. And one reason why they only have 3 burners in the Flatrock is because they're horseshoe shaped. They're covering a lot more space compared to the straight bars on the Slate. On the Traeger Flatrock, we have 17-inch side shelves that both fold up and collapse for easier storage. But you also have the pop and lock system on the outside of the shelves, so it does make them a little bit bigger, closer to 19 inches. On the Slate, we also have 17-inch side tables, but the insides are removable, so you can like throw it in your dishwasher if you wanna. The difference is only one of the shelves actually collapses. But you also have this cool little extra side shelf. And honestly, I use this little side shelf all the time. The reason why this one won't collapse is because of your tank. It's actually just bolted right on, which isn't a problem on the Traeger because your tank actually stores right directly under the griddle. And that goes along with one really cool feature on the Flatrock, but it does require electricity, which runs your electronic fuel sensor. So you can know where your fuel's at so you don't run out halfway through a cook. You also have electronic ignition, but you do not have to have it plugged in. All you gotta do is get a 9-volt battery, and on the back by the power button, that's where you'll put it in so you can still light up this pit. I think it's a pretty cool feature, and wherever I'm cooking, I always have power. There you can hear it. We got the electronics going. On the Weber Slate, you have your standard mechanical fuel sensor, and that's pretty simple. You just hang that tank on there, and there'll be a red line showing where that tank is, and you can kind of see from the graphics where you're at. Did I tell you I really like this side shelf? And it even snaps closed. Good feature. There is no bottom shelf storage on the Flatrock. But on the Slate, not only do we have a nice shelf, we also have this nice little cabinet to store things. On the Flatrock, they added their grease keg. It's super simple to clean out, and honestly, you can reuse these liners several times. On the Slate, our grease catch is right here, and it's under the same principle. You just have a liner inside this pan. Everything just drips down to it, and it's the same thing. You can just clean out this liner. You don't have to throw it away after the first time you fill it up. Like I talked earlier, we have the electronic ignition on the Flatrock. Turn it on, hit the button, and once you see that sensor shows orange, it's lit. On the Weber Slate, you have your typical snap ignition. That just means it's striking it and it's gonna light it up. Hold it in, and poof. I mean, it's burning. You can see it. I don't know if you can. One really cool battery operated feature is that you do have a temperature gauge on this one. And when I tested it out compared to my infrared reader, it was pretty close. It gave me a good average of what the temperature was across that whole griddle. It's still warming up, and it does take a little bit for the thermometer to start reading numbers. I'll flop some B-roll on here showing it actually reading some temperatures. And you can just hold the button and turn it back off. If you've been following me long enough, you know I always talk about every grill and its casters. The Traeger, it has 4 rotating and locking casters. The Weber Slate has 4 rotating, but only 2 that actually have the locking mechanism. So you just gotta make sure when you're putting it together, you put the 2 locking ones in the front. Now Traeger came out with a pretty cool idea a while back called the pop and lock system. I mean, it just pops and locks on. You can go ahead and store some stuff. You can also get tool hooks, or even maybe you wanna get a paper towel holder. They got it, and it snaps right on. Now when you see a good idea, you kind of copy it. So Weber also came out with their version of the pop and lock system, and all I have though are the little tool hooks. They also have a spice rack and a drink beverage holder. Gonna have to drink it fast because it's gonna get warm. The Traeger Flatrock and the Weber Slate are both built pretty solid. The lid on the Flatrock, nice and stiff, and you can see, I mean, it's pretty sturdy. You do that to some of these other cheaper models, they really rattle around. The same thing with the Slate. Lid is nice and solid. This one might be a little bit stiffer, but that's because we have the whole bottom cabinet. Seeing that I'm talking about built pretty solid, the assemblies on both of these pits were pretty simple. Now when it came to the assembly on the Traeger, I actually started it because I was waiting for the boys to get home from practice. And I think it took us roughly right around an hour, and the instructions on Traegers are the best. They're really simplified, and the boxes are always labeled well for the parts that you're gonna need. When the boys put the Slate together, they told me it took right around an hour and a half to do, but there is a little bit more work because you're putting together the cabinet. But all in all, I think anybody can do the installation on both of these griddles. I've had the Traeger Flatrock a lot longer, and you can probably tell by just looking at the seasoning that it's been cooked on a lot. The Slate, well, they advertise that you can go ahead and cook on it directly out of the box, but I still seasoned it and put on 3 coats. I just don't trust cooking on any griddle directly, even if they say, no, just go ahead and start cooking on it. I like to get a nice seasoned top so we don't have any sticking. But in time, the Slate will look pretty much the same because this one just doesn't have as many cooks. When it comes to cooking on the Flatrock or the Weber Slate, I have to say they're pretty much tied. Around here, honestly, we pretty much cook the same things. We love to do smash burgers, fried rice, pancakes, eggs, bacon, sausage links. Plus, every once in a while, I even do up some fantastic meatballs. I just pre-cook a huge batch, and then we end up freezing them and then using them at a later date. I mean, who out there doesn't like spaghetti and meatballs? But there is a tad difference between these 2 models when you're actually cooking on them, and that boils down to the grease port itself. On the Flatrock, your port is kind of in the front left center. You can deal with a little bit of a hot exhaust coming out of that port. I notice that I tend to cook over on the right side and use this 2/3 of the griddle more than I do on the left. You don't really have that issue on the Slate. There's plenty of room, and this port is pretty small. But I'm happy that both of them, that the grease port is in the front. I hate it on some of those models when you're scraping grease in the back and then somehow those cheap little grease cups like aren't catching it and it's ended up spilling all over the ground. Now let's talk about kind of what my opinion is on both of these models. Well, honestly, I think they're pretty similar, even if one has a little bit different feature compared to the other. I mean, it's pretty much up to you to decide. Are you lacking in storage space? Well, the Flatrock 3-zone is gonna be very much easier to store compared to the Slate because you're gonna have at least another 23 inches because of that side table not being able to fold up. But with the Flatrock, to be able to use all the functions, you're gonna have to have an extension cord to plug it in. When it comes to the Slate, you don't have to have an extension cord, but moving it around, it's a lot harder. It's a pretty big griddle, and the wheels don't travel quite as nice as they do on the Traeger Flatrock. One thing that I personally like that both of these manufacturers are doing now is that they're actually coordinating their looks to match their other grills. And this makes it really nice for all of you with the outdoor patios that you want everything to kind of match and look the same. Well, you can have a smoker and a griddle, and they're gonna look like they belong together. I'm also pretty impressed seeing that both of these companies are very new to the outdoor griddle market. Both of them have only been doing it for a couple years, and I'm glad to see that Traeger now came out with that new 2-zone, because that gives people other options. And now that Weber has purchased Blackstone, who knows what they're gonna come up with, but I will say that both of these models are beefier than any Blackstone griddle that I've ever owned. I certainly hope that I've helped you kind of see the plus and minuses between both of these models. And again, they both have a smaller version available. But if you're looking for more information, just check the description below. We'll have places where you can check on pricing and maybe even a more in-depth review on each one of these models. But now I appreciate you watching, and we'll see you in the next video. Bye-bye.